What happens when one of Hollywood's most unpredictable actors sits down with one of daytime television's most opinionated hosts and everything goes completely off the rails? You're about to witness one of the most explosive confrontations ever caught on live television. A moment so intense it ended with Joy Behar walking off her own show and never coming back. This isn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This is the day Sheen completely dismantled Joy Behar's credibility in front of millions of viewers, exposing her hypocrisy and leaving her so humiliated she had no choice but to quit on the spot. Make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think really pushed Joy over the edge. Because what you're about to see will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about The View. It started like any other Tuesday morning at The View studios in New York. The producers had booked Sheen for what they expected to be a standard promotional interview for his latest project. Joy Behar, known for her sharp tongue and willingness to challenge guests, was particularly excited about this booking. She had been preparing pointed questions about his past controversies, his public statements, and what she saw as his problematic behavior in Hollywood. What the producers didn't anticipate was that Sheen had done his homework too. He knew exactly who Joy Behar was, her history of controversial statements, and her pattern of grandstanding during interviews. He came prepared for battle, and Joy had no idea what was coming. As the cameras rolled and the show went live, Joy began with what seemed like a friendly introduction. "We're here with Sheen, and Charlie, I have to say, you've certainly had quite the journey in Hollywood. Some might say, a rocky one." Charlie smiled that famous grin of his and leaned back in his chair. "Well, Joy, I could say the same about your journey in television. Some might say, hypocritical." The other hosts immediately sensed the tension. Whoopi Goldberg shifted uncomfortably in her seat, while Sarah Haynes looked between the two guests with obvious concern. But Joy, true to form, doubled down. Hypocritical? That's interesting, coming from someone who's had very public struggles with substance abuse and has made some questionable comments about women over the years. Charlie's expression didn't change, but his voice took on that edge that anyone familiar with his interviews would recognize. "You want to talk about questionable comments about women? Should we discuss your comment about how Republican women are just angry because they can't get dates? Or maybe your statement that conservative women don't think for themselves?" Joy's face began to redden slightly, but she pressed on. "Those were political observations, Charlie. There's a difference between political commentary and personal attacks." "Political commentary?" Charlie repeated slowly, as if tasting the words. "Is that what we're calling it now? Because I seem to remember you saying that women who vote Republican are basically voting against their own interests because they're too stupid to know better." Was that political commentary too? The studio audience had gone completely silent. This wasn't the usual back-and-forth banter that The View was known for. This was something else entirely. Joy looked to her co-hosts for support, but found none. Even Whoopi, usually quick to jump into any controversy, seemed to be staying out of this one. "I think you're taking my words out of context," Joy said, but her voice had lost some of its usual confidence. Charlie leaned forward slightly, his eyes never leaving Joy's face. "Out of context? Joy, I watched the entire segment, multiple times. You spent 15 minutes explaining why women who don't agree with your politics are essentially brainwashed. But when I make a joke about Hollywood culture, suddenly I'm the problem? Your jokes weren't just about Hollywood culture." Joy shot back, her voice rising slightly. "You've made degrading comments about women. You've had public meltdowns. And frankly, your behavior has been erratic at best." "Erratic," Charlie repeated, nodding slowly. "That's rich coming from someone who once screamed at a guest for having different political views, and then claimed you were the victim when people called you out for it. Tell me, Joy, when you were having your very public meltdown about the election results, was that erratic behavior or just passionate journalism?" The cameras captured every moment of Joy's face as it cycled through emotions, anger, embarrassment, frustration. She was clearly not used to being on the receiving end of this kind of direct confrontation, especially not on her own show. "I've never had a public meltdown," Joy insisted, but her voice was shaking now. Charlie pulled out his phone. And for a moment, Joy looked hopeful that he was going to back down. Instead, he began reading from what was clearly a prepared list. November 15th, you threw papers at your co-host during a commercial break because she disagreed with you about climate policy. December 3rd, you walked off set during a live show because a guest corrected your facts about healthcare statistics. January 22nd, you interrupted a guest 7 times in under 3 minutes because you didn't like their opinion about foreign policy. Should I continue? The silence in the studio was deafening. Joy's mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. The other hosts looked like they wanted to be anywhere else in the world. Those were just, Joy stammered. "I'm passionate about the issues that matter to Americans." "Passionate," Charlie said, leaning back again. "Is that what we're calling it? Because, from where I'm sitting, it looks like you can dish it out, but you can't take it. You've built a career on attacking people, questioning their character, their intelligence, their motives. But the minute someone does the same thing to you, suddenly you're the victim." Joy's face was now noticeably flushed, and her hands were clenched on the desk in front of her. "This is completely inappropriate. This is supposed to be an interview about your work." "Oh, now you want to talk about my work?" Charlie asked, raising an eyebrow. "Because 5 minutes ago, you wanted to talk about my personal life, my struggles, my past mistakes, but when the spotlight turns on you, suddenly we need to change the subject?" The tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Joy looked desperately to the producers off camera, but they seemed just as stunned as everyone else. This wasn't going according to anyone's script. "I think we should move on," Whoopi finally interjected, trying to save the situation. But Charlie wasn't done. "No, I think this is important. Joy has spent years telling Americans what to think, who to support, how to live their lives. She's positioned herself as some kind of moral authority. But what's her qualification for that exactly? What has she done besides criticize other people?" Joy's eyes flashed with anger at Charlie's question about her qualifications. She straightened in her chair, clearly deciding to go on the offensive rather than continue playing defense. "My qualifications? I've been in this business for decades, Charlie. I've interviewed presidents, world leaders, celebrities. I've covered major news events and political campaigns. What exactly have you done besides make movies and cause scandals?" Charlie smiled that dangerous smile again. "Well, Joy, I've entertained millions of people, created jobs for thousands, and managed to do it without pretending to be something I'm not. I've never claimed to be a journalist or a political expert. I'm an actor. But you seem to think your opinion carries more weight than actual experts." "I am a journalist," Joy snapped. "I've been doing this longer than you've been making your little sitcoms." "Journalist?" Charlie laughed, and it wasn't a pleasant sound. "Joy, when was the last time you actually reported news? When did you last investigate a story, check sources, do actual journalism? All you do is sit behind that desk and give your opinions about things you've read in other people's reporting." Joy's voice was rising now, her professional composure completely gone. "I research every topic we discuss on this show. I read extensively about current events, politics, social issues. Reading Twitter doesn't count as research, Joy," Charlie said smoothly. "And getting your talking points from partisan websites doesn't make you a journalist. It makes you a commentator at best, a propagandist at worst." The other hosts were clearly uncomfortable. Sarah Haynes was fidgeting with her papers, while Sunny Hostin looked like she wanted to disappear. Even Whoopi, known for her strong personality, seemed reluctant to jump into this particular fire. "How dare you?" Joy said, her voice shaking with rage. I have integrity. I tell the truth. I hold people accountable. Integrity? Charlie leaned forward again. Is it integrity when you selectively edit clips to make people look bad? Is it integrity when you refuse to have guests on who might challenge your worldview? Is it integrity when you cut to commercial every time someone makes a point you can't argue against? Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Charlie wasn't finished. You want to talk about holding people accountable? Let's talk about the time you completely misrepresented that story about the veterans' charity. You had all the facts wrong. But instead of correcting yourself when people pointed it out, you doubled down and attacked anyone who questioned you. Where was your integrity then? That story was complicated, Joy said weakly. There were multiple sources with conflicting information. Complicated? Charlie's voice was incredulous. Joy. A 5-minute Google search would have given you the correct information. But you didn't bother to check because the wrong version fit your narrative better. That's not journalism. That's activism disguised as news. Joy was visibly struggling now. Her hands were shaking slightly, and she kept looking off camera, as if hoping someone would rescue her from this situation. You're twisting everything, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. You're trying to make me look bad because you can't handle being called out for your own behavior. Charlie sat back in his chair, completely calm now. Joy, I'm not trying to make you look bad. You're doing that all by yourself. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy. You've spent your career attacking people for things you've done yourself. You criticize actors for being out of touch while you live in a Manhattan penthouse. You lecture Americans about their values while you mock their beliefs. You claim to champion women while you attack any woman who doesn't agree with you politically. The studio was so quiet you could hear the cameras humming. Joy's face had gone from red to pale, and she was gripping the edge of the desk so hard her knuckles were white. I don't attack women, she said, but her voice was barely above a whisper now. Charlie pulled out his phone again. Really? Because I have a compilation here of you calling conservative women names, questioning their intelligence, suggesting they're being controlled by their husbands. You've called successful businesswomen sellouts. You've mocked stay-at-home mothers. And you've dismissed any woman who doesn't share your exact political views as being brainwashed. Joy was shaking her head frantically now. Those weren't personal attacks. I was criticizing their positions. Their positions? Charlie's voice was getting louder now, matching Joy's earlier volume. You called the former Secretary of State a puppet. You said a female Supreme Court justice was too stupid to understand the Constitution. You suggested that women entrepreneurs who support lower taxes are just greedy. How exactly is any of that criticizing positions, rather than making personal attacks? Joy looked around the table desperately, but her co-hosts were all looking down at their papers or off to the side. No one was coming to her rescue. This is ridiculous, Joy said, her voice cracking slightly. You're ambushing me. On my own show. Ambushing you? Charlie's laugh was sharp and humorless. Joy, this is exactly what you do to your guests every single day. The only difference is that usually they're too polite to fight back the way you fight. But I'm not most people. This interview is over, Joy said, starting to stand up. Sit down, Joy, Charlie said firmly. You wanted to interview me, so let's finish the interview. Unless you're admitting that you can't handle being treated the way you treat other people. Joy hesitated, half standing, clearly torn between her desire to escape and her pride. The cameras captured every second of her internal struggle. I don't have to sit here and listen to this, she said. But she wasn't moving toward the exit. No, you don't, Charlie agreed. But if you walk away now, you're proving my point. You're showing everyone watching that you're exactly what I said you are, someone who can dish it out but can't take it. Someone who talks tough, but runs when confronted with the same energy you bring to every conversation. Joy slowly sat back down, but her body language screamed defeat. She looked smaller somehow, less commanding than she had at the start of the interview. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. Charlie's expression softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. I want you to admit what you are, Joy. You're not a journalist. You're not an objective commentator. You're an entertainer, just like me. The difference is that I own what I am. You hide behind claims of integrity and journalistic standards while behaving like a political operative. Joy stared at him for a long moment, her eyes filling with what looked suspiciously like tears. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. You don't understand, Joy whispered, her voice trembling. This show, this platform, it's important. We're giving voice to issues that matter. Charlie's expression remained unchanged. Whose voice, Joy? Because it seems like the only voice that matters on this show is yours. When was the last time you had a guest on who genuinely challenged your worldview, and you let them finish their thoughts without interrupting, without cutting them off, without dismissing them? Joy wiped at her eyes, trying to compose herself. But the damage was already done. The powerful, confident host who had started this interview was gone, replaced by someone who looked lost and vulnerable. We have diverse viewpoints, she said weakly. Diverse? Charlie shook his head. Joy. Having people who agree with you 90% of the time instead of 100% isn't diversity. It's an echo chamber. And you've turned yourself into the chief echo. Whoopi finally tried to intervene again. Maybe we should take a break and... No, Charlie said firmly, never taking his eyes off Joy. We're not done here. Joy wanted to psychoanalyze me, to dig into my personal life, to question my character. Fair enough. But now it's her turn. Joy's breathing was becoming more labored, and she kept looking toward the exits. I can't do this anymore. Can't do what, Joy? Can't have a real conversation? Can't defend your own actions? Can't handle being questioned the way you question everyone else? Charlie's voice wasn't shouting, but it carried the weight of absolute conviction. This is what you do, Joy. Every single day. You sit behind that desk and you tear people apart. You question their motives, their intelligence, their right to have opinions different from yours. But the minute someone turns that same energy on you, you fall apart. Quote, Joy stood up abruptly, her chair sliding backward with a sharp screech. I don't have to listen to this. This is my show. Is it though? Charlie asked calmly. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're just another employee who's been allowed to think she's more important than she actually is. The show will go on without you. Joy, the network will find someone else to fill that chair. But you'll just be another former talk show host who couldn't handle the pressure when it was applied to her instead of by her. Joy's face was streaming with tears now, her makeup running, her professional facade completely shattered. You're a horrible person, she managed to choke out. Maybe I am, Charlie agreed. But at least I'm honest about who I am. I don't pretend to be a moral authority while behaving like a bully. I don't claim to care about women while attacking any woman who disagrees with me. I don't lecture people about tolerance while being completely intolerant of different viewpoints. Joy was backing toward the exit now, but Charlie's voice followed her. You know what the difference between us is, Joy? When I mess up, when I say something stupid or do something wrong, I own it. I don't hide behind claims of being misunderstood or taken out of context. But you've built an entire career on being the victim while victimizing others. Stop, Joy said, her voice breaking completely. Just stop. Why should I stop? Charlie asked, his voice relentless. You didn't stop when you spent 20 minutes attacking that young conservative commentator last month. You didn't stop when you made that military wife cry during your interview about veterans' benefits. You didn't stop when you deliberately mischaracterized what that small business owner said about healthcare costs. Why should I give you the courtesy you've never given anyone else? Axid. Grom. Joy was at the edge of the set now, torn between her instinct to flee and her desperate need to have the last word. "I help people," she said desperately. "I inform people about important issues." Charlie stood up slowly, his full presence filling the space. "You don't help people, Joy. You divide them. You take complex issues and reduce them to sound bites that support your predetermined conclusions. You've turned political discourse into a blood sport, where anyone who disagrees with you isn't just wrong, they're evil." "That's not true," Joy protested, but her voice had no strength left. "Isn't it?" Charlie pulled out his phone one more time. "I've got clips here, Joy. Hours of them. You calling people names, questioning their patriotism, suggesting they're racist or sexist or stupid just because they have different priorities than you do. You've made a living off of division and hatred, and you've convinced yourself that you're the good guy in all of this." Joy shook her head violently. "I fight for what's right. I stand up to injustice." Quote, "No," Charlie said quietly. And somehow his quiet voice was more devastating than any shout. "You perform outrage for ratings. You turn real issues into entertainment. You've taken the legitimate concerns of real people and turned them into talking points for your show. You don't care about solving problems, Joy. You care about being seen as the person who cares about solving problems." The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Joy stood frozen at the edge of the set, tears streaming down her face, her chest heaving with suppressed sobs. The other hosts sat motionless, afraid to move or speak. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of Joy's complete breakdown. "I quit," Joy finally whispered. "What?" Whoopi said. The first words she'd spoken in several minutes. "I quit," Joy said louder, her voice gaining strength from desperation. "I can't do this anymore. I won't sit here and be attacked like this. This isn't journalism. This isn't entertainment. This is cruelty." Charlie sat back down calmly. And there it is. When faced with the same treatment she gives everyone else, Joy Behar calls it cruelty. When she does it to other people, it's holding them accountable. When someone does it to her, it's an attack. Joy was backing toward the exit again, shaking her head frantically. "You're all witnessing this. You're all seeing what he's doing to me. What I'm doing to you." Charlie's voice was incredulous. "Joy, I'm using your own words, your own actions, your own history against you. If that feels like an attack, maybe you should think about what that says about your own behavior." "I'm done," Joy said, reaching the exit. "I'm done with this show. I'm done with this network. I'm done with all of it. You want to destroy people? Fine. Do it without me." And with that, Joy Behar walked off the set of The View for the final time, leaving behind a stunned studio, a bewildered audience, and Charlie Sheen sitting calmly in his chair as if nothing had happened. Charlie looked directly into the camera. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when someone who's made a career out of dishing it out finally gets a taste of their own medicine. The show cut to commercial, but the damage was done. Joy Behar had been completely exposed, humiliated on her own show, and driven to quit by someone who simply treated her the way she had been treating others for years. What did you think of Charlie Sheen's systematic dismantling of Joy Behar's credibility? Was he too harsh? Or was this exactly what she deserved after years of attacking her guests? Let me know in the comments below what you think was the most devastating moment in this entire confrontation, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking celebrity showdowns that you won't see anywhere else.